I was recently reading The Art of Spending Money by Morgan Housel, which is a phenomenal book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. You might recognize his name because he also wrote The Psychology of Money, another amazing book. There's one section where he summarizes something so simple, yet so profound. Most Americans think they have a spending problem because they order too much from Amazon, or they eat out too much, or they have too many subscriptions. But the truth, for the vast majority of Americans, their financial life comes down to five decisions. Just five. And the reality is, they're usually not the ones we obsess over. Household puts it this way: the amount of attention a problem gets is often the inverse of its importance, meaning we'll spend 30 minutes debating a $150 purchase, but only a few moments deciding what type of house we can afford. Or worse, we don't even make that decision ourselves. We let a third party, like a bank, tell us what they think we can afford. And when you say it out loud, it sounds crazy, but for most of us, that's exactly how we behave. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin, and welcome back to the channel. So today I want to walk you through the only five expenses that really matter, the ones that truly determine your wealth, your stress level, and your ability to retire. And then we'll talk about why everything else is basically a rounding error. Here's something strange about how our brains work. Small purchases feel painful. Big purchases feel abstract. A $30 lunch, you debate whether or not you should go. $500,000 home, you glance at the monthly payment, say you need a place to live, and you sign for it. $10 monthly subscription, should I keep it? Should I cancel it? $55,000 car, well, it's only $700 a month and you need a car to drive, so you sign. It often feels like we're being responsible when we debate those little decisions, but the giant decisions, the ones that ultimately determine 80 to 90% of our financial lives, those often happen with shockingly little thought. That's why Households says we give the most attention to the least important things and the least attention to the most important things. So let's try to fix that. The five expenses that actually matter. Let's start with the big one, your home. Your home is your biggest monthly expense. It's your largest lifetime purchase, and really the purchase that sets the baseline for your entire financial life. Many people don't realize just how big this decision really is. So let's put some numbers to it. A $600,000 home at today's rates doesn't cost $600,000. By the time you finish the mortgage, it costs closer to $1.34 million. To put that into perspective, that one decision is the equivalent of 243,000 Starbucks lattes, 45,000 DoorDash orders, and more than 7,000 years of Netflix, all from one single choice. Now, let me take it a step further. A $600,000 mortgage on a 30-year fixed at roughly 6.3% comes to a monthly payment of about $3,714. But if instead you bought a more modest home with a mortgage of $450,000, the exact same loan terms, your monthly payment would drop to about $2,785 a month. That's a difference of nearly $1,000 a month. And here's why that matters. $1,000 a month is $12,000 a year of pure breathing room. This could allow you to accelerate your savings. Maybe you fully fund that Roth IRA, or you increase your contributions to your 401k. You're able to reach financial freedom sooner. You reduce your financial stress. You beef up your emergency savings. Or maybe you take a portion of this. You take an extra vacation. You allow yourself to get that latte. Or you allow yourself to keep the subscription you truly love. That same $1,000 a month can help you reach financial freedom years earlier. When your mortgage is lower, everything else in your life is easier because this is the biggest line item in your budget. Choosing the $450,000 mortgage instead of the $600,000 mortgage saves you about $184,000 in interest alone and cuts more than $330,000 off the total cost of the loan. That's one decision. It's $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, and hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a lifetime. That's hundreds of thousands of different decisions you could have otherwise made with this money, whether it's spending it in other ways or investing it to accelerate your wealth generation. This is why the big decisions matter so much more than the little ones. Why continually agonize over a daily latte when changing your housing can transform your entire financial life? The home you choose is truly the most important financial purchase you'll ever make. Number 2, your car, or usually your cars. Cars are sneaky. They feel reasonable because they're usually packaged in the form of a monthly payment rather than full sticker price. They're also essential because how do we get to and from work without a vehicle? But a $700 monthly payment is one of the biggest quiet wealth killers that Americans experience. If instead you made that car payment and you invested $700 a month for 35 years at a reasonable 7% rate of return, you'd end up with about $1.24 million. Over that time, you would have contributed about $294,000, and almost $950,000 is pure growth. That's nearly $1 million in compound interest from one decision. And most families don't drive one $700 car, they drive two. So that ends up being nearly a $2.5 million decision over the course of a lifetime. But here's the irony. So many people will spend more time debating whether or not they should go out for dinner and spend $50 versus whether or not they should buy a $40,000 vehicle. Now, of course, it's not about never buying a vehicle or never buying a new car. For many of us, cars are an essential part of our lives. However, there are some small tweaks or small practical decisions that you can make when it comes to vehicles that can make an enormous difference. For example, what if you took a payment that only lasted for 3 years, and then you continued driving that vehicle for another 5, 6, or 7 years with no monthly payment attached to it? How much more freedom would that give you compared to the typical cycle of always having a payment, or always upgrading, or even upgrading before the loan on the previous one is paid off? That simple choice to have a payment sometimes, rather than having a payment forever, can completely change your financial life.